transcriber will sit here. They will have the earphones on, and then they will hear everything that happens in the respondent room. Your transcriber will then speak into this microphone, and then what's recorded and what your clients will see will be the visual from the room and the audio from the microphone. Yes, yes, we can only do one or the other. So the video, the audio, and the live streaming, the sound will all come from the mic.
Okay, cool.
So you'll hear what's going on.
Yeah.
And then when you talk to the mic, don't like straight to the mic.
Oh, okay.
So just a little bit further.
Oh, okay.
But if it's too distorted, I'll come tell you.
Okay,
So you can see an hour.
Okay, so I don't need headsets.
You can. That's
Okay.
you have because you will listen to the group through the headset.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then when you translate, then just yeah, it's a little bit of vibes in the gap.
Oh, okay. So
Something like
I should be like, yeah.
around about there is fine.
Okay, cool. No problem. Thanks.
No problem.
yena mashanja. Wathini? Angeke ukhona. Hayi inzima. Inzima shame. Azani. Yo, iyang'ang'aza nami. Ayenzi sense everyday bahlale bamlanda. Mose angamfunela nomuntu futhi. Angamfunela nomunye umuntu. Just ukulaya wena phela uspiteful. Akadecide ukuthi ufunani. Hayi khona kuyo impintshi. Where about is she? Where is she? Because I used GPS and it led me straight here. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay. Mm, no problem, Linda. Let me try and sort it out. Let me try and sort it out. Can you? Okay. Not a problem. Oh, okay, not a problem. Thank you so much. Okay. 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 Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Let me do that.
Fantastic. So what will happen is, because the client in India is watching, Linda's watching, and will record it, the audio will come from the camera, but the sound will only be from the monitor from here.
Okay.
So have you tried it? So
Yeah, I think I've done with like I just need to face it. I don't know if because I need somebody to make maybe a sound from that side so that I
okay,
can.
I'm going to go talk.
Okay.
Do you have another printed copy of the guide?
I haven't received any copies of the guide.
Okay, well that's fine. I'll just can maybe the rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure
No,
I have it.
it's fine. We can just photocopy this copy if you
Okay.
don't mind. Do you
Sure.
mind?
Okay.
No, no problem at all.
Just the guide. So I just left my folder. Thank you. Linde.
Hi, introduction.
Linde
E-learning.
na tshithu kuni phone.
Like a doing
No, ngingayishaja ngifuna ukushaja ngokuphela.
Akakhuluma ufike wahlala kuphela. Yeah. Athi uyazwakala.
Uyamuzwa?
Mama ucalile uyaphanika.
Oh, ayikho.
Hi Linda. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let me. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, cool, Linda. Okay then, Linda. No problem. Bye.
He's just wanted to test the.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just. Yeah. Can you Lorna, can you be a bit higher? Yeah. I think he's not saying anything. He's not saying anything. Oh, that's perfect. That's
Better.
perfect. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we just need the respondents in because she says we need to start in the next minute.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem. The plan that will send for you Wi-Fi.
Before you Wi-Fi, it's very low.
Okay, and then ngicela i-chat signal so I can use my
Yes,
phone all the
yes.
time. And then can I use your phone for the time? Oh, I can put it in by USB with your speaker. Oh, I can.
Yeah.
I can. Perfect. So then we'll put it for the time. I know, just for this group. And then you can do no problems. So then for this one.
9, 11, or 5. Yeah, so we need to.
Ayikho on. Ngicela ufake flight mode.
Ilona, we need a. And then, what do we need?
Why didn't you put the guided command?
Where's the time of it?
No, it's fine. Anytime I don't need it, I'll just check
Okay.
the time.
Okay, cool. Oh, we follow her as it is. The guy.
Not really.
Hi, ladies. You can help yourself to the refreshments. My name is Fezega, and I'm going to do this discussion with you today. I'm going to ask you to please be brief when you explain things to me because we don't have a lot of time. We're literally gonna run through it, so you can help yourself to the refreshments. I'm going to ask you to please introduce yourself. My name is Fezega. I do research most of the time. I just need a brief introduction from you ladies. I want you to tell me who you live with at home and whether you have kids. My name is Pindi. I'm 32 years old. I have 2 kids. It's my mom and my 2 kids, so there's 4 of us in the household. I work as a receptionist. How old are your kids? The other one is 13, and the younger one is 7 years old. My name is Nobile. I'm a makeup artist. I stay with my mother, and my son is 4 years old. Nice to meet you, ladies. We are recording this session so that we can make notes later on. Please make sure that you speak loud enough because we have a translator at the other room and there's other people in the other country. When you hear the word protection, what images and thoughts come to your mind? What words do you associate with the term protection? Hygiene, clean, healthy. Protection works hand in hand with protection with hygiene. A clean face. When you think about your lives, how do those rates relate to your everyday life? Everybody wants to lead a healthy lifestyle. Health goes hand in hand with hygiene. Sometimes it's hard to let the little ones follow through hygiene practices, good hygiene practices. Kids don't usually follow good hygiene practices, and it's hard to always tell them what to do where hygiene is concerned. It's hard, but it's doable to teach them. For me, it's the washing of hands and making sure that they clean up after eating. For me, it's making hygiene means making sure that the house is clean and ensuring that kids wash their hands after using the toilet since they love going to the toilet. What products are you using for cleaning your homes and for hygiene practices? I use Protex. And what do you use for cleaning, Mobile? I use Handy Andy. And I've heard that you can mix a bit of Dettol when you clean household surfaces. So I usually use antiseptics for cleaning. So what do you use for washing your hands? Do you use the same soap for washing your hands and your body? I use a bar soap, Protex, for everything. I use Protex to wash my hands and my kids' hands and to wash their bodies as well as mine. Dettol also has a hand soap, a hand wash soap, the one that you press. I use it frequently. I use Dettol. Is everybody using the same soap at home? Yes, everyone at home is using Protex. Yeah, everyone at my household also uses Dettol. So when you growing up, how did your family protect themselves against germs? At home, they used to use DEEP. They used to use, we call it DEEP, but it's actually J's fluid. So we always use J's fluid for our surfaces and everywhere else. They also used it in my bathtub. So I used to wash my body with J's fluid. They used a drop of it in my bath water for germs. And as you grow older, my mom introduced me to Dettol, the antiseptic. It actually made my water clearer and whiter. So what practices did you use as a family? They used to pour a bit of bleach in my water to bath, just a drop. I used to also use bleach to drink. So they usually boiled water they boiled my water and put a bit of jig inside of the water, and then after the water is cooled down, we'd actually drink it. So that meant that it protected me from germs. Other things that were not bought in stores that you used for germ protection or good hygiene. My grandmother used to use ginger. We used to have it in our garden to protect us from germs. We also used to grow mint, and it really helped me because it helped us with flu. We also used an amina. We actually used sunlight into an amina, and then they'd actually squeeze it into me. Yeah, more especially for bowel movement. So you mentioned health. Let's talk about illnesses. How frequently do your children fall ill? When kids play around, they are exposed to different kids from different environments. So if one child has flu, it's very easy for them to get exposed to that flu. And because they don't wash their hands frequently, you find that they get infected with that flu. That's what makes them ill. And for you, Ngobile, my child is always indoors. Most kids come into my yard, so they usually play around with the toys that they have. I think dirt actually makes them sick, the dirt that they play with. So how do you know that your child is sick? They start changing. When he starts being calm and less naughty, I know that he's actually sick. When a child is smaller, they're actually cleaner. But when they are sick, they become irritable. Are there any other things that show you that your child is actually sick? Or they have a runny tummy and a runny nose, and then sometimes they have rash. Are the illnesses that used to be there when you were younger still there right now? The illnesses that are there now are illnesses that have always been there, but we were not very cautious of them. We were not very educated when germ protection and hygiene is concerned. So we were not very cautious. And then now, because we're educated, we are no conscious. We know that there are a lot of illnesses because of everything that we see on TV. The illnesses that were there when I was younger are illnesses that still exist now, but now because we're educated, we're more cautious of them. I think illnesses that used to be there when I was younger are not there. There's actually new illnesses now. I think how we did things back then is a lot different from now. I also think that vaccinations from when I was younger is a lot different to vaccination from now, currently. Do you think people were more sicker back in the day, or are they sicker now? Like I said before, The illnesses that were there back in the day are illnesses that have been there. They've always existed. However, we were not very conscious of them and we were not aware of them. Back in the day, we used traditional herbs, unlike now, when it's mostly Western medication that is used. So you end up knowing or being aware of more illnesses because we're more educated. We also think that children get infected with illnesses now because they're exposed to other children in different environments. What illnesses are more frequent and which ones are less frequent? Flu is frequent. Which illnesses are not as frequent? The stomach bugs are not as frequent. I beg to differ. Stomach bugs are very common for me. Sometimes the things they eat at school, you'd make a lunchbox for them, but when they get to school, they exchange their lunchboxes with friends. And you find that they're exposed to other things that you didn't put in their lunch boxes, which causes them to have stomach illnesses. And sometimes they don't wash their hands, which also results in them having stomach bugs. I took my child to a doctor because he had a stomach bug. Apparently, she had exchanged her lunchbox with her friend. So that's how she got a stomach bug. I took my child to the doctor in January. He didn't want to eat. So has the doctor advised you on any preventative measures or ways in which you can control and avoid certain illnesses? To be honest, I didn't go to the doctor. I went to a public clinic. The doctor just gave her Panado. The nurses at the public clinic actually asked the parents what the symptoms were. They don't really check their child. They just give you medication. They just give you Panado, and they give you Allergex as well. But they don't really check children. In public clinic, they actually dilute medication. My doctor actually advised me to washing my child's hands often as well as mine. So have you changed anything because of the doctor's advices? Yes, I have. When I'm at home, I make sure that they actually practice good hygiene. So when I'm not home and I'm at work, it's very difficult because I can't actually tell my grandmother or my mother to do certain things for my children in terms of hygiene. What illnesses are common and which ones are uncommon? The illnesses that I know about right now is coronavirus. It's quite new. For me, I think that coronavirus is an illness that has always been there, but we just didn't have a term for the illness. I think it was always there. I think coronavirus is a virus that was always there. However, we didn't have the correct term or word for it. So in your opinion, are there new illnesses? Yes, definitely. More especially coronavirus. I feel like coronavirus or most illnesses were actually man-made. I think it was actually lab-made. Coronavirus is from animals. They told us it's from animals. I think that if ever coronavirus was there from a long time ago, it actually wouldn't exist now. So I think it's quite new. So when you protect your children from illnesses, you spoke about washing their hands and different hygiene practices. You've also mentioned that people should mind what they eat. How do you protect yourself from germs? How do you prevent internal germs? I drink lots of water because it strengthens my body. I eat healthy. What else do you do? I usually take supplements. What supplements do you use? My children are not on supplements. For me, it's predominantly healthy eating and drinking water. We don't take supplements. So you're saying germs are spread by low level of hygiene? What do you mean by the term? How do you get infected with germs? I think you actually get infected with germs through sicknesses. What is a germ? What are germs for you? What does the term germ mean to you? Germs are things that make people sick. Germs make us sick. Germs are infectious. How do germs get spread? How are other ways? How can you contract germs? You can get germs from toilets. Where do you get the germs that you're talking about? From bathrooms, from door handles, from kitchen surfaces, from public and crowded places. How do you know that these places have germs? We just learned about them. We hear about such every day on TV. What tells you that this door handle has germs? I'm not saying it has germs. Cleanliness means hygiene. So when the door handles has marks, it automatically tells me that it has germs. So if there are no marks on the door handles, I automatically think that there's no germs there. So germs are mostly because of cross interaction between people. So when I say virus or bacteria, what is the difference between the two? Bacteria has a cure. There's actually medication that they can give you in order to make it go away. And then a virus is just there. What do you mean it's just there? When you speak about bacteria, and viruses. I actually don't know what the difference is. For me, bacteria and viruses actually mean the same thing. Between virus and bacteria, which one is stronger? For me, it's definitely virus. For me, bacteria is not as lethal as viruses. I think viruses are stronger. Are there other viruses and bacteria that you know of, except for coronavirus, of course? TB is a virus, so that's known information. What is the difference between viruses and bacteria? I think things such as swine flu, Ebola are viruses. What else? So those are things that we've heard about in the past. There was also listeriosis. I'm not even sure if it still exists, but yeah, it used to be there. What are some of the things that you use that are effective against germs? What do you use? Do you exercise? I was just talking about this the other day. Exercising is a commitment, and I'm very lazy. So usually for me, it's clean eating, water, and exercising. So apart from everything that we've spoken about cleanliness and good hygiene and healthy eating, what do we mean when we say healthy food? We mean greens, vegetables, and fruits. Less fatty food is healthy. Are there any other ways that you can prevent illnesses? I think there's not really. I feel like staying away from crowded places keeps you away from germs. How does Ngobile protect herself from germs? I usually use hand sanitizers. So what are the ways in which we cure illnesses? You can cure illnesses. I go to the doctor. What else do you do? Do you go to the doctor right away when you get sick? No, we don't. I try to observe whether the illness is really serious. I first start by Googling before I go to the doctor, and when they get very serious, I go to the doctor. Sometimes I have symptoms, and then as an older person, I usually just use things such as Mad Lemon to cure myself. You use home remedies. So if those home remedies don't cure you, you then go to the doctor. I actually use weed. I actually use marijuana. For flu, you actually boil it and you drink it, and it actually cures your flus. When you drink it, you don't need to go to the hospital. There's another herb. I'm not sure what they call it in English. We actually use Mhlonyana is actually aloe, so I use aloe for illnesses. It cures my flu. I use that aloe for cold sores or sores in general. I use aloe to drink, and I use it to as a moisturizer on my skin when I have rashes and sores. So that's why most people use skin brands, they usually take products that have aloe because it's a powerful herb. There's also lemon. So with your soap, which one is more powerful in terms of fragrances? Most products have lemon. They always have lemon. Even raw lemon is good for your skin or for your face. You can take lemon as raw as it is and just smear it on your face. So how do you know of all these remedies? We get those advices and remedies from social platforms and blogs as well. Facebook is also good. You get recommendations from people on social media networks such as Facebook. So how do germs show on your skin? Let's say you have an illness. How do the germs manifest into your skin? I think it's different strokes for different folks. There's people who could have germs or an infection but not really show symptoms. And then there's other people who actually get symptoms and get darker and have marks on their skins when they're actually infected with germs. So how does soap help with that? The soap that I use, which is Protex, helps me with dark marks and blemishes on my face. Also, I sometimes don't use Protex. I use Deep Clean, which helps me with marks. My daughter that is 13 also uses Deep Clean for marks because she's now a teenager and she has rashes. I love the soap that I'm using because after bathing, you can actually tell the difference from the water. The water is actually darker than it was before you started bathing. What makes you think that the soap that you're using would actually help you with blemishes, for instance? Like I've said it before. I usually get, I was told to use the soap that I'm using because of recommendations. I started using Protex from recommendations from people. I used to use Sunlight, the bar soap. I actually use the green bar for everything else. I used it for my body. I used it for house chores as well. But after hearing about Protex, I started switching from Sunlight bar soap, the green bar soap, and I went on to Protex. And then so far, since I've been using it for 2 years, I'm very satisfied with it. It works for me. And then, Ngobile, since you said you use Dettol, how has that helped you? Dettol was also recommended to me by a friend. I also like the fact that Dettol doesn't have odor. I love the smell as well. The smell actually tells me that it's a good hygiene soap. The smell actually tells me that it actually works. Have you heard about good and bad bacteria? You've been talking about bad bacteria. I need you to tell me about good and bad bacteria. Good bacteria actually helps you with illnesses and germs. I'm not sure where I came across this. I need you to tell me where you heard about good bacteria. Where did you hear about good bacteria? I think that good bacteria actually helps you. I don't remember where it came from. Good bacteria actually helps you. It's actually preventative. It prevents illnesses. Are there good or bad bacteria? Do you think there's good or bad bacteria? Yes, I think there's good bacteria because it fights illnesses and germs. What does the term antibiotic mean to you? It means that it fights germs and bacteria. Antibiotics means medication or pills for me. You get it when you are ill. When you are ill, you go to the doctor and they give you antibiotics and you get better. And then what does probiotic mean to you? I'm not quite sure what probiotic means to me. Is it a good or a bad thing? Probiotics means active. Pro means active. So it means that it's a biotic that is actually active. That's what I think. I'm not quite sure. And then microbiome, what does microbiome mean? I'm not going to lie, I don't know what that means. I'm not going to lie. What does it tell you? This term actually scares me because I'm not sure what it's about. I think we've reached the end of our discussion. I'm just going to check and find out if we're done. I think we've reached the end of our discussion. You can help yourself to the refreshments. Thank you very much for coming and participating.
them, and then we can just make a record of it. Yeah. No. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so I remember those. Do you mind if I just tell you now? Or let me ask them, it's fine. I don't know, I'm gonna go around the back because okay, shut. Okay, cool, bye. No, the thing is, follow the follow shit guide.
Okay.
But I am following the guide to some degree.
Okay.
That we are short of time.
Yeah.
The guide delay, to be honest.
Yeah.
But because we are short of time, I think I get.
Okay, aspect.
I follow it until one goes to the page.
Engazwakali.
Hi, that's just about to call you. No. I'm in the room with Marato now, but they told me, Linda. So, it's the same things as a
Flu, stomach bug, rashes.
Okay. Stomach bug. And then what they mentioned was other illnesses that they know about from before, which would be like your swine flu, your listeriosis, in terms of for viruses, and then the other one was Ebola in terms of the viruses they know. But the common illnesses, the small time illnesses is really just the flu and the stomach bug, and and the symptoms would be rashes, runny nose, coughing, a loss of appetite, and also rashes I mentioned already. Cool. No, they didn't mention the fever at all. Yes. Okay. Cool. No problem. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, bye.
Okay, sure.
Translate.
Okay.
So, silent guide.
Hey,
But what I'll try and do is
Zulu sakho.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that into consideration.
Okay.
Nice. And then what I do is ngiyayilandela guide.
Yeah.
Ngiyabona
Ngibonile ukuthi yeah.
because we don't have time.
Okay. Sharp. Hi, ladies. How are you? We're great. You can help yourself to the refreshments while we chat. And I'm going to ask you to please put your phones on flight mode. My name is Fezega, and I'll be chatting with you today. We don't have much time, so I'm going to ask you to please be brief. We're recording this conversation so that we can use it for note-taking later on. We're doing a video recording as well because we've got colleagues as well who are abroad. I'm going to ask you to please introduce yourselves. I want to know who you live with at home. I want you to tell me about your kids, their ages, and tell me whether you're working or not. I'll start. My name is Amanda. I'm a 32-year-old woman. I have a 9-year-old boy. I live with my mom, my son, and my brother. I'm the breadwinner at home. My mom is on pension. What do you do for a living? I work at an optical company. I'm a team leader supervisor. Thank you, Mandy. Nonhlanhla. I'm Nonhlanhla. I'm 34 years old. I've got 2 kids, a 4-year-old and an 11-year-old. I stay with my mom and 3 brothers. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm currently studying, doing some short courses. Thank you for the introduction, ladies. So when you hear the word protection, what images and thoughts that come to your mind? What words do you associate with protection? For me, there's good and bad bacteria. When I think protection, it's making sure that my skin is healthy, making sure that my appearance is adequate, making sure that I have cocoa butter type of skin. Also means that feeling rejuvenated and fresh. I go to gym. So gym also helps against germ protection or protection. Good nutrition and hydration. Some of the things that come to my mind when you speak of protection. And then for you, Nonhlanhla, what words come to mind? What images? You know how kids are, they're very touchy. When I think of protection, I automatically think of germs. It means protection from germs. Because my kids play in different environments, it tells me that it's germs. It protects you against protection associated with germs. When I go to the gym, you still need to be protected from germs. You need to ensure that you're nice and clean. You spoke about skin a lot of times. You spoken about sweat. You spoken about sweat. I want to know, in terms of skin, what are you doing to protect yourself and your skin from the germs and the sun and sweat? For me, I use Lifebuoy because back in the day when I was growing up, we used Lifebuoy because of the strong smell. When you put it on your washing cloth, it actually dyed the cloth. I'm actually talking about the old Lifebuoy, not the new one. I think Lifebuoy is actually called Active 10 now, if I'm not wrong. I actually use it for my son. I use Lifebuoy because my kids are exposed to a lot of germs at school. They play with dirt and with their friends, and they touch other children as well. So I use Lifebuoy to protect them. I also make sure that in his bag there's actually a hand sanitizer. It's a Lifebuoy hand sanitizer. Because he doesn't always have the time to wash his hands, so I make sure that there's something that is quick, such as a sanitizer that he can grab from his bag and just wash and sanitize his hands. I also love the fact that it's a germ protecting product. I'm comforted by the fact that it actually protects him from germs. The sanitizer protects him from germs, and it's easy to use. My son uses Lifebuoy. I've also bought sanitizer since this coronavirus. So at school now, since coronavirus is out there, every child at school usually has a hand sanitizer. I use Lifebuoy Herbal because it has an aloe smell. I love how fresh it makes me feel after bathing with it. Even when I haven't moisturized my skin with a moisturizer, it actually helps me because it's got a bit of moisture. So that's taking care of your physical body. Mandy, you've mentioned that the kids at school touch each other on different surfaces. What do you do to ensure that your surfaces are free from germs or are protected from germs? At school, he uses hand sanitizer. At home, when I clean, I don't use Lifebuoy. I've actually tried using Lifebuoy on different surfaces. So I have recently started using Lifebuoy on my surfaces as well. I've been exposed to Lifebuoy introducing other products. For surfaces, I usually use Handy. My mom is very old school, so for surfaces, sometimes she'll use J's Fluid. For surfaces, she'll use a cup full of J's Fluid for the toilets and surfaces. I trust Domestos because it's #1 for the toilets. You've mentioned the term strong. What do you mean by the term strong? When you pour it into a bucket, I can actually tell that it's strong from the way that it changes the water, it changes the color of the water. So I automatically assume that the germs are going to be, there's going to be germ protection. Are there ingredients in the products that you use that you like? Are Are there any ingredients that contribute to the household being clean or the way that you clean? I use honey and turmeric for my face. There's actually a bar soap of honey and turmeric. It's actually great for the face. I use honey and turmeric for the face and a different soap for my body. It's got moisture oils that help your skin. Those are the ingredients that I know help me with moisture and for keeping my skin clean. I use Lifebuoy for my body. I use sunlight on my face because it's not as harsh on my skin. When I use fragranced soap, my skin actually changes, so I just stick to sunlight. When we're talking about kids and illnesses, how frequent do your children fall ill? They fall ill very frequently. When was the last time your child got sick? 2 weeks ago, a month ago for me. When was the last time you took your kids to the doctor? When I took him to the doctor 2 weeks ago, they actually gave him a prescription. I also use Lifebuoy Herbal to protect him from illnesses. Like I've said, there's good and bad bacteria. Lifebuoy keeps the good bacteria and the moisture, and it makes them feel fresh. So that soap actually helps my child not fall ill as frequently. My child is very active, so I make sure that I use Lifebuoy. When last did you take your children to the doctor? My son doesn't get sick frequently. The last time I took him to the doctor was around November last year. I took my son to the doctor in January. My son had flu symptoms. So you said that when you go to the doctor, they get prescribed different medications. Are there any other remedies that you use or advise that a doctor or has the doctor advised you on any protective measures? The doctor usually advises me to keep him clean. He advises on the products that I need to use for him. He actually mentioned Lifebuoy. I was actually advised by the doctor to use Lifebuoy. He's also told me that long ago, Lifebuoy was quite harsh on the skin, but now it has improved and it's not as harsh. He also advised me to use fresh produce for my child, because fresh produce actually aids his immune system. I was also told to use things such as carrots and fruits. So what usually happens is the doctor advises me, and then when I get home, I implement his advice at home. Are there illnesses that are common? There's mumps. There's flu. Mumps are very contagious, so they usually get them from school or when they play with other children. Sneezing frequently actually spreads infections. So how do you know that your child is sick? He becomes hot, he gets a fever, his temperature gets high. His eyes get red. He doesn't become confident. He's not as playful. He doesn't want to eat. He's no longer the way that I know him to be. And then what do you do when that happens? Do you go straight to the doctor? No, I don't go straight to the doctor. I observe the symptoms and I try to use home remedies. When he has flu, I give him boiled stony beer. I boil it. Ginger ale. I use ginger ale, which is stony, better known as stony. I boil it, and after it has cooled down, I make him drink it, because when you boil it, the acid actually goes out. I use Vicks Vapor Rub on his chest as well. I use it for when he's coughing or has a blocked nose. I use stony ginger beer to ensure that he can now breathe. He breathes properly. I also use it for his temperature. So when the home remedies don't work, I usually take him to the doctor. I use the home remedies for 4 days, for instance, and if he doesn't improve, I take him to the doctor. What illnesses have become more frequent in recent years? Not only with your child, but just in general. The biggest illnesses that I've seen are pneumonia. You find children with pneumonia. Sometimes you don't take precautions as parents. We don't dress children adequately, more especially in winter. They catch on more illnesses in winter, such as your bronchitis. It might start as something that is small, but it actually becomes worse. Are there any illnesses that are less common? Not only with kids, just in general. Flu is more frequent, pneumonia is more frequent, bronchitis is now frequent, mumps are also frequent. You mentioned that children infect each other with different illnesses. What are the places that make children more susceptible to illnesses? I think more especially playgrounds and parks as well. So sometimes we take a drive to the park and they play on swings, and those swings are actually infested with a lot of germs. So when the kids actually touch those surfaces, they put it in they eat something without washing their hands and they actually become sick. Going to parks is a big problem. So public surfaces also are actually danger zones where illnesses are concerned. Restaurants are also a big no. So sometimes a waitress will wipe a table with a cloth, but you as a parent don't actually know what's on that cloth. There could be germs on that cloth, which might actually infect your children with germs, which causes them to get sick. How many times do you wash your hands? I wash my children's hands or my hands very frequently. I need to wash my hands very frequently. For me, no. I wash my hands very frequently. When I touch my face, when I touch my nose or anything else, I make sure that I wash my hands. And then for you, I can't say I frequently wash my hands. I don't have a specific time frame for it. I live a busy lifestyle. I wash my hands before lunch. After helping an agent as well and shaking their hands and everything, I make sure that I wash my hands. I don't wash my hands very frequently because I'm not busy. So usually when I'm on my desk, I usually use a hand sanitizer because it's easy to use. So you've mentioned external factors to clean yourself. What are the internal things that you do in order to ensure that you're in good health? What other things do you do? I take multivitamins. I make sure that I take multivitamins. I also slip it into my son's meal so that he takes it. In terms of medication, that's what I use. Multivitamins aid your immune system. They actually boost it. I use Crash Guard for my son. Crash Guard is a multivitamin. It's actually a syrup for children. Before he goes to Crash, I give him a spoon of Crash Guard. I don't usually put it in his bag because I'm scared that the teachers would use it on other kids. I even give him Crash Guard on an empty stomach. What are germs? What are they? How would you describe the term germs? Germs are things that are invisible. We hear about them, we are aware that they are there. They are very invisible, but they are there. So germs actually make you sick and they spread in various ways. In terms of where you find germs, you mentioned surfaces and overpopulated places such as playgrounds and parks and restaurants. Where do you find germs at home? Where are the key points at home where you suspect that there are germs? Toilets is number 1. Number 2 is the kitchen, because everybody uses the kitchen. We touch different surfaces. We touch your fridge and your cupboards. So I make sure that I wipe everything. So how do you know that these places have germs? Why would you suspect that kitchens have germs? Because we touch everything we frequently touch everything at the kitchen, in the kitchen. Devices as well, such as remotes, have germs because various people touch it. My son also has a tablet, so I suspect it has germs. You can also tell on the screen of the tablet that there's print marks and stickiness, so that automatically tells me that there's germs. So every now and then I make sure that I wipe it. So common areas at home, such as the kitchen, are usually infested with germs. Germs are in the air as well. Just being in the same room and breathing the same air actually spreads germs, which might lead to something serious. What Is there a difference between the terms virus and bacteria? A virus is something that cannot be treated, where else a bacteria can be treated. Viruses make you ill, and sometimes it's severe, and you can end up dying. For me, virus is more severe, and then bacteria can actually be treated before it escalates. Nonhlanhla, what viruses have you heard about in recent times? Coronavirus is very common lately. I've heard about coronavirus. I've heard about the Santon case. He, the first case was in KZN, and the second one was in Santon, in Grayston. It automatically alerts me, and it's very frightening because it's closer now. The coronavirus, according to people, is an illness that is predominantly, that has spread through white people. When you protect yourself from germs, does it protect you from falling ill? No, it doesn't. Illnesses are everywhere. As she's mentioned, illnesses are in the air as well. You can't really protect yourself. You can prevent illnesses by being a bit healthier. So how do you cure an illness when you get sick? Apart from the doctor's advice. You've mentioned home remedies, Nonhlanhla, and then for you, Mandy? My mom loves different concoctions. She uses different remedies. She has very different concoctions to cure illnesses. I remember when I was sick, I had a stomach bug. I was eating a lot of sweet things. So for my stomach ache, my mom advised me that I need to boil tea bags in water. So she makes some concoction that I used to drink, and then I had to vomit it out because that actually helped with the stomach bug. The other thing that she introduced to me is she mixes water. It's a drip. So when you have diarrhea, she makes something sort of like a drip that flushes everything out. So it's water, a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of salt and vinegar, mixes that up and lets you drink it. So that cleanses you. So that concoction actually works as a laxative. So she actually calls it a drip, and it really helps. It really helps you out. I usually use that. I usually don't include vinegar because it's very pungent. So I make sure that it's just sugar, salt, and that's it. So when I mention the term gem protection, what comes to mind? What images come to mind? When I mention germ protection, what comes to mind? Germs are invisible, firstly. I need to protect myself from invisible germs. I just need a mental picture of what you think when the term germ protection is mentioned. What does germ protection mean to you? It means that it's a toilet and there's germs around, and it shows you in adverts that there's germs. There's an advert there's an advert where there's a toilet, and when they use a microscope, there's actually a lot of germs. So automatically in my mind, when I think of germs, that microscope actually comes into my mind. It's actually a Domestos advert. How do you protect your skin from germs? What image comes to mind when you think about skin germ protection? I think automatically of Lifebuoy. I think of the red bar, the Lifebuoy red bar, because it offers moisture and it protects you from germs. What is the role of soap in your life? You mentioned that you have your herbal that you use for your face. I use honey and turmeric for my face because it provides me with moisture. What does aloe do? Aloe is very good, more especially when you're sick. I love the fact that when I use herbal, I automatically think that I'm protected. What else does aloe help with? In terms of the bar soap or in terms of it being a bar soap, aloe is really good for you. Aloe helps you with every illness. It helps you with flu and other illnesses. When you drink it, it's very bitter, but it actually works. It's good for the body. So you use soap to bath? Yes, we do. Do you buy moisturizers? Some soaps strip your skin of moisture. So for my face, I use the turmeric because of the oil, and it rejuvenates your skin. It doesn't strip away your skin of moisture. I use the soap that I use because it locks in the moisture. You mentioned good bacteria. What does good bacteria do? We've been speaking about bad bacteria. What does good bacteria do? Even though it's invisible, it aids your body, boosts your body. I think good bacteria actually keeps all the good things in your skin. good bacteria tells me that if you use it on your skin, it actually prevents or acts as a shield on your skin. It protects you. What does the term antibiotics mean to you? Immune booster. It's a vitamin. So antibiotics actually help me. It boosts my immune system. What does probiotics mean? I'm not sure what probiotics are. I've heard the term, however, I don't know what exactly it is. Pro means for, so automatically it tells me that it's good. And then microbiome. What does microbiome mean to you? Microbiome means that it's you can only see it via microscope. Automatically tells me that it's good. Ladies, I think we are done. I think we've covered everything. Just quickly. You said common illnesses are flu, mumps, stomach bugs, pneumonia, bronchitis. The new viruses are coronavirus. Are there any other viruses that have been around? Tuberculosis. HIV is a human immune virus. Okay, ladies, thank you very much. Ladies, we've actually reached the end of our discussion. Thank you very much for your time. No, this one was it was very good.
I'm not gonna do a lot of probing here. I'm just gonna let it talk. Whereas with the other excitement because they're slightly younger.
Yeah.
They're gonna have those brain blocks and then
Yeah.
they're gonna freeze.
Mama.
Linda? Okay. 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 Awesome. All right. Cool. So we're just waiting for. Okay. We're just waiting for one more lady. I've seen the one, but we're waiting for the other one, and then we'll be good to go. I don't know, but let me just try and find out. Let me try call. Yes. Let me call. Okay. All right. No problem. Bye.
Okay. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I was busy in Durban. I had a project to help and it was the yes, I was gonna and it's well, I don't for this project.
Yeah.
Currently scheduled something is a state to take me.
Yeah.
And then it like postponed.
Right.
That's the available for that day, but obviously for I said we're gonna get to tomorrow. It's fine, that would be wrong. So I was just like, no, go with it because available even though it's postponing and I'm available just
I'm actually joking, but
I know. And the client it's the same. It's the same. It's the same. Obviously, we've been doing that work for a long time, but it's a different exec now. That's why we're doing just. Usually we do Lama, Lutuzana concepts and stuff.
yeah.
So now it's a new exec, so she just wants to understand the South African market.
Nah.
Of which we have been covered. If it's a South African market, Geliza, then let's do like 5-6 diets and
Yeah.
spread it around. Let's do Andabadala, Obaba, Hi, Linda. Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. Okay. No problem. No problem. Thanks, Linda. Cheers.
I see. Yes,
But I'm communicating very nice.
yeah, when you do the job that you're doing, like, it's pointless for you to frighten a respondent.
Great. Oh, yes. Hey,
Yeah. Yeah, but Okay,
You
cool.
know, he's just
Why we should fiddle in the middle someday.
Because it started right after. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. Off very briefly. I need to know what you do for a living, who you live with, your children, how old they are, that sort of thing. My name is Oratile. There's 3 of us in the house. I have a 4-year-old. I have a 4-year-old. Her name is Paige. I'm an auditor. Zolaga. I'm 27 years old. I live with 4 people in my household. I have a 6-year-old daughter. I enjoy hiking. You said you're a PA. Yes, I am. And how old is your child? Sh- She's 6 years old. When you hear the word protection, what images and thoughts come to your mind? Health, love. Please explain that. Because you need to protect the people that you love. Care, your hands. What other images do you think? A jail. I see bars because it means protection. Closed doors for me. In terms of the ingredients or the products that you're using correctly to protect yourselves, what are they? What products do you use for the whole family? I use a sanitizer. I use wipes. I'm not sure if I'll be allowed to say this. Water are the ingredients that you feel are better at protecting you. Are there particular ingredients that you look for protection? If something has mint and aloe, it actually tells me that it's protection and it will leave you clean. What does aloe have? Aloe automatically speaks of cleanliness, of good hygiene. It's a good product. It's green, and green means healthy to me. And then with mint, mint is also green and it's good for your health, and yeah. And then any other ingredients apart from aloe and mint? I think chloride. Chloride is in handy Andy. What is chloride? I'm not quite sure what chloride is. What is it? I don't want to say it's a gas. It's a cleaning chemical. For me, chloride is not actually healthy, but it does the job. It cleans. Handy actually cleans perfectly. What do you use on your surfaces? So I use bleach, your sunlight. What do you do with sunlight? Sometimes when the dishwasher is out, we use the sunlight green bar. I clean the dishes with the bar soap, the sunlight bar soap. Pine gel as well is what I use on surfaces. And when it comes to our children, how often do they get sick? When she was young, she used to get sick very frequently. She'd actually get a rash. So I couldn't use just any soap on her. My child's skin was very sensitive. She also had flu here and there. My child had a rash. So when last have your children gotten sick? For me, it's not a regular thing. I can't say I've been in and out of hospitals. Last year winter, my child became sick. I don't really struggle with my child getting sick. It's not a constant thing. How do you achieve getting your children to not get sick? How do you do that? Because other people actually have kids that get sick frequently. What are you doing to prevent your children from getting sick? So I vaccinate my child. Around winter time, I ensure that he gets vaccines. I make sure that in winter, I make sure that she gets a winter vaccination to prevent illnesses. I don't like people who just hold my child, so I'm very careful as to the people who I expose my child to. My child baths twice a day. So your kids go to school? They're amongst other children as well? You're speaking about them being in contact with other children. What do you use? I use a sanitizer for their hands when they're at school. You've mentioned about external factors that you do, external things that you do. What do you do in order to make sure that your children are healthy and are protected from within? I make sure that I'm conscious of what they eat. I take caution as to what they eat. They eat healthy food. I pack a lunchbox for my child. I don't give my child necessarily a healthy diet. I give her a sandwich with cheese and ham and juice. I also make sure that there's a fruit in the lunchbox. I make sure that I also give my child something soft to eat. I stopped giving my child apples because I wanted to eat soft food. I give my child a sandwich with cheese. My child also doesn't get sweets as often. I'll give her a treat once in a while. And sometimes I'll just give her a burger. In terms of symptoms, how do you know that your child is sick? What symptoms do they have? My child's energy goes very low, so I automatically think that she's sick when her energy is low. My child also doesn't eat when she's sick. I usually check her lunchbox to see how much she's eaten, and if there's a lot of food left, I know that she might be sick. My child vomits, and her temperature goes high. My child actually gets flu and diarrhea most of the time. My child also gets blocked sinuses. Is there any other illness that is common in kids? No. What are the things that make your children susceptible to illnesses? You've mentioned touching and being in contact with different surfaces and environments. Are there any other danger points? Normally around winter, because of the cold, they get sick. When my child goes outside and she plays on the grass, I automatically know that she's going to have rash. I'm not sure if it's the dust or the grass, but she actually gets an irritation after playing outside. What are the less common illnesses? Illnesses that they seldom get. My child hasn't had a less common illness. What about the adults? What are the less common illnesses? HIV. Because we've had cancer at home. So those are the pretty serious but seldom ones. Common illnesses, flu, definitely. Sinuses, definitely. We don't really have sickly people at home. When last did you go to the doctor? In winter, for me, I took my child 2 months ago to the doctor. Was it for illnesses or a checkup? It was for a checkup. If doctors had to give you advice on how to keep your child, does the doctor's advice change the way that you do things when they advise you? When I get information from the doctor, I usually go out for a second opinion so that I know that my mind is at ease about what the doctor has advised me about. So usually I'll listen to the doctor's advice, and then after that talk to my mom for a second opinion, and then follow my mom's advice or the doctor's advice. For me personally, I listen to what the doctor says. In terms of how illnesses spread, how else would you say illnesses are spread? There's germs everywhere. We can sit in a room, in a closed room, and somebody could have flu in that room, and automatically there's germs in that room, and you're bound to get sick as well. There are things that are airborne that actually have germs and could actually cause you to get sick. Are there any other things that promote the spread of germs? Yes. Say I'm allergic to a certain thing. I can get sick from getting exposed to that thing. It could be expired food that could cause me to be sick. Sometimes it's how the food is handled that would actually make me sick. What are germs? Germs are bad bacteria. Germs are tiny things that are harmful. Where are you most likely to find germs? It could be external factors or internal factors from your home. Definitely playing outside, when your children play outside with different toys. Animals also have a lot of germs. The outdoors is germ infested. Public places such as escalators, because sometimes people actually touch the railings of the escalators, which have germs. Toilets are infested with germs. Sometimes shopping trolleys. Money has a lot of germs as well. What areas in the home are prone to germs? The TV room, the doors, the toilet. Why do you suspect that these areas have germs? I always see my husband picking his nose, so I automatically think there's germs because he picks his nose and touches different surfaces. And because we all touch the door handle, it automatically tells me that there's germs. What makes you believe that the kitchen has germs? For me, I wouldn't say the kitchen has germs because before you do everything, you have to clean the kitchen. You need to make sure that it's very hygienic. When you're about to cook, you need to clean your kitchen. In terms of the word virus and the word bacteria, do you believe that these two terms are different or similar? Viruses are bad, and then bacterias, there are some good bacterias, but there's bad bacteria as well. How is bacteria different from viruses? I think I think bacteria grow. I don't know how to explain this actually. A virus grows as well as a bacteria grows. They both grow. A virus can never be good. Viruses are very dangerous. Viruses are very dangerous. So when it comes to viruses, what recent viruses have you heard about? Coronavirus, most definitely. HIV. Is HIV one of the most recent? No, it's not recent. Corona is the most recent virus. What other viruses have you heard about? There was this Poloni one that was new. It was listeriosis. I haven't heard about listeriosis in such a long time. Are there any new viruses that you've heard about? No, I haven't. It's just corona and listeriosis. You've mentioned the things that you use that keep you protected from germs. You've mentioned what you wash with. You mentioned that you bath twice a day and that you always keep your hands clean. What soap do you use? I use Lux and then I use Dove. Does everyone in your family use Lux? Yes, my whole family uses Lux. Well, I use Dove. So the whole family uses Dove. Why have you ladies chosen these soaps? I use Lux because it's been a brand that's always been there in my family. It's a generational brand. My mom changed to Dove. I don't know why, what influenced the change. My skin is not sensitive, so that's why I use Lux. Lux has been a brand that's been in my house for generations, so that's why I use it. I use Dove because Dove lasts. It might be a small bar, but it lasts. I also love the fact that Dove adds a bit of moisture to your skin, so you don't necessarily need to use moisturizer. I also use Dove products for my baby. There's baby products. What is the role of soap in your life? The role of soap is to clean and it's to protect me from germs. You mentioned that Dove is milky. Is that a role for soap as well? Yes, because I don't want to have dry skin after coming out of the shower. What else does soap do? I know it cleans and it takes away bacteria and sweat. What else does it do? I love the fact that it leaves a specific fragrance on your skin. I love smelling nice, so the fact that my soap offers that actually makes it appealing to me. The fragrance actually makes me feel like I'm taking care of my skin. I love the fact that my soap extends beyond hygiene. It actually takes care of my skin. I love this fragrance. So when it comes to preventing illness, Would you say that you do the same things that you've mentioned before for your kids? Yes. Are there any other ways that you make sure that you prevent illnesses? No. Do you guys use supplements such as your multivitamins? I take probiotics. How do you take your probiotics? I take one in the morning and one in the evening. They are actually pills. They're actually a sachet. We just have Future Life at home that caters to the nutrition side. Future Life is a porridge. Why is Future Life a probiotic for you? What does Future Life provide that makes you think it's a probiotic? It has protein, which automatically tells me that it's strong. When your child gets sick, do you go to the doctor right away? Not the first day. Because I want to see if it's something minor. I just test the first day, and if it gets worse, then I take my child to the doctor. So in those first days, before you decide to go to the doctor, what are you doing? I actually give my child medication that has worked on them previously when they had the same symptoms. When they have fever or a cough, I usually give them a cough syrup. But if the problem persists, then I take them to the doctor. Do you have remedies that you use? I use water and vinegar when they have a runny stomach. What does water with vinegar do? It actually stabilizes the stomach ache. It also helps with the diarrhea. It stops the diarrhea. My mom also used to give me a pill for diarrhea. It's not a home remedy, but it's something that my mom used to do. You said water with ginger. How does that help you? Oh, I actually use stony. When you have flu, you actually boil it. You boil stony, and then you wait for it to cool down, and then you drink it for flu or fever. My child is too young, so I don't test home remedies. So I usually stick to medication, doctor prescriptions. Who told you about all these home remedies? Well, it's generational. My mom told me about it. And then for me, I actually Googled the remedies. So say your home remedies don't work and then you go to the doctor. So you said that when a doctor advises you, you take the advice. What else do you do after visiting the doctor to ensure that you regain good health again? Usually after coming back from the doctor, I take the medication and sleep. I usually just take antibiotics. I finish the course. But sometimes I don't finish my antibiotics because 5 days is a long time. I struggle to finish my course. What images come to mind when I speak of germ protection? I see a bar soap. I see a dishwasher. I see an aloe plant. I see water. What are the best ways to protect against germs? I keep clean. I stay clean. I ensure that my personal hygiene is excellent. I make sure that I'm clean physically as well as the space that I'm in. What are the germ protection? What does germ protection on skin mean to you? Is moisturizing a form of germ protection? No, I wouldn't say that. Moisturizing just keeps the skin moist. If I don't use a moisturizer, my skin will crack. Moisturizing sometimes just creates dirt. Moisturizers attracts dirt. It actually attracts dirt particles. So what happens when your skin cracks? What happens when you have cracked skin? You can get sick from it. The sun rays can actually enter into your skin. Cracks actually mean that I'll get sicker. How would you remedy the cracks? I would use soap on the crack to help it heal better. You've mentioned something about good bacteria. You've mentioned that you find good bacteria in yogurt. What does good bacteria do? Honestly speaking, I have no idea, but I know that it's there. I know that there's good bacteria in most protein products. I know that it's good for you, but I'm not sure how. Do you agree with her? I think good bacteria helps you with strength. I know that there's good and bad bacteria. However, I don't know what that actually means. When I mention the word antibiotic, what comes to your mind? It's there to fight bacteria. Probiotics. It's to control the immune system. Probiotics boost your immune system. What about microbiomes? I've never heard of the term microbiome. Do you think microbiome is a good thing or a bad thing? Does microbiome sound like a threat? I think it's something small because if it's micro, it means it's small. So I would be cautious. I just think of a laser type of thing. You mentioned that some of the illnesses that kids have, you mentioned flu, you mentioned rashes, sinuses, and blocked nose. And I think we have reached the end of our discussion. I'm just going to check with my colleagues, then I'll just be right back. Thank you, ladies, for coming and participating. Thank you.